Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest Rebitten, the remake that I made of the notoriously bad, maybe in your opinion, video game, or maybe possibly the worst Castlevania. I personally don't think so, but we're gonna get right into it. Castlevania 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System's always been a black sheep type of game, and it always seemed unfinished, and I think that it was. They just didn't have enough time to finish it. They were starting all these new ideas. They were making it more open world, more Metroid-ish style rather than your traditional level after level version of Castlevania. Now, of course, other people have remade it. They've done fantastic jobs of it. There's some great versions out there. But most of the time, what I saw was they changed the graphics on it. They made it either 32-bit or 16-bit, whatever you want to go by. And I wanted to keep it more traditional because when I wanted to play it, I wanted to feel like I was playing the NES version, just a more polished up version of that game. So the number one issue that I wanted to fix right away was the game constantly pausing when it switched from night to day. And so I thought of a really cool idea that didn't interrupt gameplay. I'm like, why doesn't it just go straight to night? And when it goes to night, I wanted it to obstruct the player's view. So if you can see, the whole screen goes transparent black. It goes very dark, not straight black, but very, very dark. And there's a little bit of a light that's around Simon. Now, you can increase that light by getting either the torch, or you can also later on get, I think it's Dracula's eye, and it will expand the light that's around Simon more and more in the darkness to help you. And lots of people like that a lot. They thought it was one of the best features that I ever added to the game. Doesn't interrupt gameplay at all, and it adds more strategy to it as well. So then I thought, but then you never know when nighttime is going to come or when daytime is going to come. So what I did was, in the original one, the watch was never used, and that's a Simon optional weapon, if you will. That normally what it did was it stopped time, but I wanted it in the game to do something else, and so I put it in, and it actually acts like a watch, and it will show you as a timer up in the corner, my own version of a timer, that it will show you when it is going to become dark, when it's going to become nighttime, and then when it's nighttime, it'll show you when it's going to become day. And I thought that was really, really, really cool aspect. People love that a lot, and it's traditional because I did add the traditional Castlevania watch back into the game. Now, in terms of graphics and sound, of course, that's always been upgraded, but that's par for the course on all of my games. So they're all 60 frames a second. They all have particle effects. They have smooth scaling, they have parallaxing, they've got all that jazz into it. So, but I don't want to add too much effects to it, not to make it look so much like the original. I want it to feel like the original, but like a perfect version of it. So of course the the heads-up display has all been changed. That's all made better. And the only animations that I really added extra to the game was on Simon himself. He has way more walking animations to make him look a lot more smoother. And he also kind of does that Street Fighter bobbing effect when he stands still. Also, when you get the rib in the original version, you couldn't turn the shield off and on with a button anytime you want. So I wanted to change that. So I got this cool animation of the shield coming in on him that I pretty much copied exactly from Symphony of the Night, how it kind of rotates around to the front of you. And I thought that was a really cool kind of, homage or hint to Symphony of the Night itself. Now, the stages themselves are pretty much exactly the same. I didn't want to stray too far away from that from the original. And the dungeons or the mansions are pretty much the same as well. But what's been added, and that's all different, is like enemies, enemy placements, booby traps, obstacles, all that stuff. And then, of course, at the end, you will fight a boss this time. A dedicated boss that's an actual Castlevania boss on the end of every single stage. So everyone, of course, who has played the game loves that about it as well. Now, in the original game had a password system, so you would get a password, you have to write it down, and then you have to hope that you got it right, and that if you came back to the game and tried to continue where you left off, you type in the password and hopefully it works. Well, of course I abolished all of that, and I just put in straight up save features. Now you can't save the game anywhere you want. You have to save it at the actual churches, which makes sense, because if you could save it anywhere you want, well, that's just like save states, and it just makes the game way too easy, and I like a challenge. So I did add that, but what also I did to the newest version is I added multiple different churches throughout the landscape now. They're not just in towns. So to give the player, people were saying that when they died, especially if they died inside a mansion, they didn't want to start all the way back in town. So I fixed that by making some churches kind of just right outside the mansions and in a certain other types of more maybe difficult more spots in the game. And another thing that I changed that was very cool is I added actual money to the game. See, in the original one, you had hearts for your weapons, right? Every time you used a sub weapon, it would use hearts, but your hearts were also your money. So I found that kind of just, it didn't make much sense. So why not have real money in the game that actually does something? So whenever you want to buy other items and crystals and upgrade your weapons and such, there's an actual item system or an actual money system for the items in the game. And I thought that made way more sense and it was a lot better. Another thing that's attached to that is that there are bounty system in the game. So now when you actually go to towns and talk to people, they don't just give you this random garbly gook like they did in the original. They didn't even really say stuff that made any sense. So I changed all that. It makes sense, but also they will give you an actual mission or a quest or a bounty to go out and kill a certain amount of enemies somewhere and then come back and they'll give you a reward of money. So it's kind of it's totally optional. You can do it if you want or not. And the two last things that I want to mention that I added to the game was there are upgrades now for your health and how many hearts that you can hold. And they're scattered all throughout the game, and sometimes they are locked away with these specific blocks that can only be destroyed by a specific weapon. And it's actually carved in, I carved in the picture of the weapon that's on the block, so you get an idea of what weapon that you can get. Now don't worry, because I didn't make the game like the original Castlevania where when you grabbed a weapon it would replace your other one and you'd be like, oh no, I didn't want the dagger. Everyone always says that, I didn't want the dagger, and they grabbed it by accident. I changed it. I made it like Rondo of Blood, and if you grab a weapon, your other weapon will drop out of you, so you still have the option to switch between the two. Now, there's a load of secrets in the game. I don't want to spoil too many of them, but they're there if you can figure them out, and it makes the game have great replay value, or if you really do want to know the secrets, just ask me down in the comments area and I'll probably just tell you what they are. But it's a fantastic game. I really urge you guys to pick it up. Where can you get it? Of course, you can get it on my website, retrovideogames.store. And if you like the video and you like the game, give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate that a lot. And of course, in the future, if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. I promise you, it will be worth your time to come back. And that's it, and I'll see you guys next time.